Hi everybody, this is Joseph Sharon and I'm back again with another book review. I just finished the fourth and final book to the Mortal Engines Quartet, written by Philip Reeve. This one's called Darkling Plain. And of course there are 5 other books in the series which I haven't gotten yet due to the fact that I think they are more relegated to the role of being prequels rather than being in the 4 main stories of the traction cities and what are known as the Mossies. And I'm intrigued because I feel that the 60-second war is lightly touched upon but never really explained as to how it occurred and how the cities became traction cities. But you're led to believe with the mention of Odin that yes, there was, or in this case, in this particular final chapter, that there is a piece of technology that the ancients built that is controlled by old tech via the tin box. And the tin box is very reminiscent of Pandora's box, and if you know anything about that mythology, you'll make the link. And also, there's mention to the Lost Boys, which would be a hint at Peter Pan. But in this case, it's much more dire, and it's a horrible, terrible, just absolutely abominable existence. It's despicable because children are orphans, they have no parents, and they're sold as slaves, and they become property. And of course we all know this is what happens to Ren in the last book, Infernal Devices. And this one I really like quite a bit. This is actually my favorite of all the books due to the fact that we see Anna herself wrestling with the other half of her, which has been converted into a stalker. And she has this manic ideal vision. Is more of zealotry than it is anything. She's possessed to make the world green again, and she's going to do so in a very violent and intense way. You think, oh crap, but this could be bad. And of course Helen is on her own, or it's not Helen, sorry, Hester is on her own. Tom is on his own. Tom has been captured. We have a new character in Wolf Cobalt, and I really like Wolf Cobalt. He's rather aristocratic, but he seems to be egalitarian in the way that he treats other people. And of course his parents don't like to see it that way. They're thinking, what are you doing letting these plebes in here? Get them out. We don't have commoners. We are aristocrats. We have no time for peons. I'm thinking, oh, high bloods. But yeah, some people who are highbrow and highfalutin and hoity-toity tend to think of themselves higher. They put themselves on a pedestal. They have a terrible narcissistic complex, and there are all sorts of other complications in their personality, or lack thereof. They just have all these quirks that put them in a category of how not to win friends and influence people. But Wolf is not one of those people. He actually immediately becomes one of my favorite characters, but of course there's a twist with that, but I'm not going to go into that. This is very intriguing, and it's a tale that will keep you on the edge of your seat because you think, no, don't sink the ship that includes Ren and Theo, because I absolutely love that one, and Ren deserves all the love that she could possibly handle just due to the fact that she's been through hell. And I will not reveal as to what occurs with that, but versus all the other books, Darkling Plain is actually much longer. It's 400 plus pages, but me being the reader I am, I got through it in a heartbeat of that time. I consider it the best of all the books in the quartet, just due to the fact that, yes, there is hope involved in the story and the way it is told. I can't say that much else about it, other than Philip writes in such a way that's very tongue-in-cheek. There's a lot of humor involved. It's very enjoyable. The duality involving Anna is absolutely fascinating. I've always been drawn by characters coming to a sense of who they really are, and in her case, she's struggling with that other half of her that likes to take dominance, and it's more of that technology versus human nature, and it just reminds me of transhumanism, and that subject in and of itself I could make volumes of books on if I wanted to, because I'm a Luddite, pardon me for being so. I do enjoy technology, but only to a certain point. And then I think it's not going to be a help but a hindrance. My friend he's really big into wanting to integrate his psyche with the computers. I think, no, absolutely not. When I die, I die. Please let me be disposed of in a ecological faction, please. And just have a nice celebration of life for me. I'm not going to care, because I'm going to be partying up in heaven. But it's just it's one of those things that just gives me pause quite a bit, because I don't like that idea just becoming not me. And then another thing is joining the collective. We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Not today, Borg! Arm facers to the full charge! Shoot them with everything you got! Yeah, would much rather not be assimilated by the Borg. I don't like hive mind mentality. I'm not into mobs. That's why if it's going to a con, I'm okay with this. There's not so much of a hive mentality in going to a con, but it's still very frightening, that whole aspect of losing yourself to become part of something else that you might not have wanted to become part of. I like to be an individual. Don't mind me. I like people, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoy my individuality, and just Anna's struggle just really drove that home for me. And she has this ambition, and it's a completely Meshuggah ambition to make the world green again. And yeah, that's one theme throughout the book itself. It's rather interesting, but despite all that, I have to say that the book is just fantastically written. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat. It's suspenseful. There's romance involved. There's adventure. You've got Scavenger City still devouring other cities, and then Greeka comes back. Actually, Greeka was introduced in Infernal Devices, and Greeka proves that he's still very much human, and you think, there is a saving grace. Even though he's a stalker, he does something morally correct, and it's rather revealing as to his true character, and it makes you wonder what he was in the past before Green Storm got a hold of him, and Zero corrupted him into being a stalker. But his programming was actually rewritten in Infernal Devices, which we all know. But Darkling Plain is more about who he really is. And I'm want to think that he is a history buff of some sort because he seems to be quite knowledgeable on everything, including the people that have come into his life and the people that he has facilitated and having lives of their own. He's basically a savior, if you want to be straightforward about it. But like I said, it's a absolutely sensational book. I've sad about finishing it, but I'm hoping to read all the other books in the series and doing my own assessment of that and seeing how they fit in with the four main books in the telling of the scavenger cities themselves, or the Hungry City as it's called. But I really enjoyed it, and it's sad to say that there are no more films going to be made just because it's so unusual and stands out by itself, and it's unique in and of itself that it is a steampunk novel, and you don't really find that very often. It's more like Mad Max meets steampunk meets meets martial arts, sort of like Into the Badlands. It actually really felt like an apocalyptic version. Well, Into the Badlands is an apocalyptic vision, so yeah, that's a redundancy. So it just is reminiscent of that. That's why I love Into the Badlands so much, because it is a steampunk martial arts story about factions, different regiments, and people being divided, and people coming to create for themselves something entirely new, and they find alliances along the way. A lot of them are built on love, so love and trust still have a lot to do with this, and this actually drives that home as well. So it's absolutely stellar, and I can't recommend it more than I do. If you've seen the movie, read the books, because the books are more involved, and you get a bigger sense of the world that Reeve was trying to weave and illustrate and make so detailed and intense, especially in Darkling Plain. This is his most intense book. It's so suspenseful, but it's absolutely worth every minute. When you get through it, you think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? Oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? You're just, like I said, you're gripping the side of your seat and utter eagerness, thinking, I gotta know. So it keeps you hooked. He hooks you immediately, and it never lets up. This one is one of those that's a real roller coaster ride, so it's definitely worth it. So until next time, live long, prosper. Ciao tutti.